So what are the sounds? What are the letters of the alphabet? Sanskrit is technically an alpha syllabary because the individual letters are not letters like in English. They each contain a vowel sound that is not separable from the syllable. And the sound of the syllable as written is absolute. Let me explain. In English we have the letter K, which is pronounced K when it is a letter on its own. But it sounds like K, K, when it has no specific vowel sound associated with it. I mean, you can maybe barely hear K, because it needs a vowel to make a sound. So we don't really ever say the sound of the letter K outside of a word or outside of its name, K. And similarly, the English letter A may have many different sounds. It may sound like a, a, etc. But in Sanskrit, the first consonant of the alphabet, ka, which is roughly equivalent to our K with an a sound, ka, is an example of the consonants in Sanskrit. They all contain the neutral initial vowel sound so ka. And the vowel sound that we would associate with the letter A in English has two pronunciations and only two pronunciations in Sanskrit, and they are and ah. Like when I'm talking, I think what to say next, or like the dentist says, open your mouth and say ah. Those are the only two sounds for the letter A, what we call A in English. Before we tackle pronunciation of particular words or mantras, let's look at the fascinating structure of the Sanskrit alphabet. Now, if you are not interested in an exhaustive explanation about the Sanskrit alphabet and would like to simply learn how to pronounce particular sacred phrases that we use in the dances of universal peace, like Om, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, then you're welcome to skip forward. Just stop now and skip forward to the portion of the video where I share a pronunciation of particular sacred phrases that are common in the DUP. But for those of you who would like to forge ahead into the fascinating structure of the Sanskrit alphabet, I promise you will be interested in what I have to share. Because of the way the Sanskrit alphabet is put together and the reason behind that. So for a moment, the English alphabet we know is pretty arbitrary. We have A, a vowel, we have B, a labial, we have C, a sibilant or a guttural, depending on its context. And so there's no particular order. There's no rhyme or reason to the English alphabet. We simply memorize it, by rote. But not so with Sanskrit. The Sanskrit alphabet is organized in a very systematic way that most delightfully is organized according to the way the human vocal system produces the sounds. Also, each letter or syllable, as it properly would be called, has a sound which is exactly the same as its name. So in English we have K, but we don't pronounce K when it's in context. Its name and its sound are not identical. In Sanskrit, the name and the sound are identical, and they are then later modified so that ka becomes ka, becomes ko, becomes k, kai, etc. But the base syllable or letter is ka, which is both how it sounds and its name. Let me just recite the Sanskrit alphabet from start to finish so that you can hear how it sounds. A, I, E, U, lur, lur, a, I, o, ow, ka, ka, ga, gha, nga, cha, cha, ja, jha, nya, ta, tha, da, dha, na, ta, ha, da, dha, na, pa, pa, ba, bha, ma, ya, ra, la, wa, sha, sha, sa, ha, ksha. Harihi. So let me just show you how the alphabet is arranged. We'll write it on this piece of paper. And we'll go fairly quickly because, again, you're probably not interested in learning how to write. But just to show you why the alphabet is pronounced the way it is, and most interestingly, why it's organized the way that it is. I'm sure you'll enjoy this. So we begin with the first vowel, which is a neutral vowel. It's a neutral, meaning it is the neutral sound of the human voice. When I'm speaking to you, I know I do it too often. I say, it's like shifting into neutral when you're driving. This is the sound of the human vocal cords without any modification with the mouth. Just the sound of the vocal cords. When you apply the breath to them and activate them, they say, The first modification to that neutral sound opens out into the long form ah. Ah. Then we move to the short E. And the long E. E, E. So we have short and long vowels. We have oo, the short oo. And by adding a tail to it, we have oo. E, oo, oo. Then we have Now this is one that can be pronounced in a couple of different ways. This is one of the rare letters or syllables in this alpha syllabary that can be pronounced in two different ways. It's either or ri. Ri. So we either have Krishna or Krishna. The long form simply adds another little tail and it becomes or ri. So we have short ri, ri. And these are vowels, remember. We have another sound that comes later. It's a consonant. Next we have lur, like LR, lur. And the long form, lur. Then we have a. If you see this in transliteration, it will always be the letter E, as in Padme. A. Sounds like A. And then with this mark on the top, it becomes I, like AI, I.